Sergeant Rick Lawson doesn't knock. He pounds. 4 heavy hits with the side of his fist, hard enough to rattle the frame of 3127 Maple Crest Drive. In the backyard, the talking falters for just a moment. The music doesn't. The grill still sizzles. The smell of burgers floats through the warm Texas air. Kids shout and laugh in a ring of birthday balloons. Someone knocks over a juice box. Someone else screams because a bee got too close. Inside, Malik Carter wipes his hands on a dish towel and walks toward the front door. From behind the frosted glass, he can see a uniformed shape, broad shoulders, squared stance, hand resting on his belt. He opens the door. "Afternoon, officer," he says calmly. "Everything okay?" Sergeant Lawson doesn't greet him, doesn't smile. His jaw is set tight enough to crack. His nameplate reads Lawson. "You're disturbing the peace," he snaps. "Step outside." At the end of the driveway, 2 neighbors stand on their porches. Both already have their phones out. In this neighborhood, when a black man interacts with police, recording isn't optional, it's instinct. Malik steps onto his porch slowly, palms visible. Behind Lawson, 2 more officers hover by their cruisers. One, Harris, looks uncomfortable. The other stares at the ground. "Officer," Malik says, steady and polite, "it's my daughter's birthday. The volume's low. If there's any issue, I'll fix it." Lawson takes 1 step closer, breath smelling faintly of tobacco and bitterness. "You people always got excuses," he mutters. "You people." The phrase hangs in the humid air, sour and familiar. Across the street, 71-year-old Miss Janet Alvarez raises her phone higher, zooming in. Malik keeps breathing slow. Years of training do that. Years of teaching airmen exactly how to stay alive during routine encounters. "Sir," he tries again carefully. "Turn around," Lawson barks. "Hands behind your back." Malik's spine tightens. His heartbeat quickens. But his voice stays even. "Officer, I haven't refused any lawful order. I'm just trying to—" "I said turn around." Lawson's hand is already on his cuffs. "Last warning." Malik swallows hard. He turns. Click, click, tighten. Metal slices into the soft skin of his wrists. Behind them, the screen door slaps open. "Daddy?" Nyla stands there, birthday crown crooked, glitter on her cheek, eyes wide in confusion. 2 of her friends peek from behind her. The music still plays faintly behind them. A child laughs in the backyard, not yet aware of the wrongness unfolding on the porch. "It's okay, baby," Malik says. "Just a misunderstanding. Go inside with Mrs. Lopez, all right?" She doesn't move. She watches her father, her protector, her hero, her constant, being walked toward a squad car in handcuffs. Officer Harris glances at her, guilt flickering across his face, but he stays silent. Lawson shoves Malik's head down, getting him into the back seat, harder than necessary. The door slams. Through the window, Malik stares at his house. For a moment, he thinks he sees Nyla's hand press against the curtain before the fabric drops closed. The patrol car pulls away. 9 minutes after the knock, he is gone. 9 minutes after a false complaint, a father is in custody. 9 minutes after a racist remark, a life is rerouted. But Cedar Ridge has no idea what's coming. They don't know who they just put in the back seat. Before I go deeper, listen closely. Stories like this get buried unless people like you keep them alive. So don't scroll. Stay with me, share this when you're done, and hit follow. This story, you need to hear where it goes. Because what happens next, most people will never believe it unless someone tells it. 8 hours earlier, at exactly 06 o'clock, Malik's eyes snapped open. 18 years of military service does that. The clock still read 5:59 when his feet hit the floor. By the time it flashed to 6, he was already stretching, rolling his shoulders, staring out at the faint Texas dawn. Maplecrest Drive was quiet then. Sprinklers clicking, distant joggers patting down sidewalks, the faint hum of a delivery van that always came early on Saturdays. A pink sunrise washed over the neighborhood. Today was Nyla's 9th birthday. He moved quietly through the house. She liked her door cracked, just enough hallway light to keep monsters away. He paused at her doorway for a moment, watching her curled around her stuffed panda, hair a mess, breathing soft. Hallway walls told their whole story. Nyla at 3 with frosting on her chin. Malik in dress blues at commissioning. The two of them at Galveston Beach. A framed photo of his late mother. Another of Nyla holding his Air Force cap. The house wasn't big. 3 bedrooms, mismatched furniture, a backyard with a faded swing set. But it was steady. Safe. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen. Malik pulled out the burger patties he had seasoned and portioned last night. 12 kids coming, plus parents, plus the neighbor who always brought potato salad. 2 burgers per kid, 1 per adult, plus extras. Planning was second nature. Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, logistics. His entire career was about preparation, anticipation, finding failure points before they happened. At 07:30, Nyla appeared in the doorway, unicorn pajamas, messy hair, eyes bright. "Daddy, is today the day?" she asked. He grinned. "Yeah, baby, today's the day." She ran to the stack of wrapped presents and counted them twice to make sure she wasn't imagining it. "9," she said, satisfied, "because I'm 9." He didn't realize yet how many times that number, 9, would echo through reports, affidavits, statements. He just kissed the top of her head and went back to prepping. By mid-morning, they were setting chairs in the backyard. Lesson of the day, he told her, placing folding chairs in a neat arc. Document everything. She frowned. "What do you mean?" He explained, patiently. "If something feels wrong, write it down. If someone lies, save the message. If someone mistreats you, get the names, because evidence wins arguments." She repeated it softly, as if tasting the words. Evidence wins arguments. She didn't know yet how much she'd need that lesson. Neither did he. By 1 p.m., kids arrived. By 3 p.m., the backyard was a kaleidoscope of noise and color. By 3:05, Malik was flipping burgers. By 3:28, Lawson got the call. By 3:43, metal closed around Malik's wrists. By 3:52, he was gone. By 4:10 p.m., the video had already been saved in 3 different homes. By 7:10 p.m., he was standing outside the Cedar Ridge Police Department, wrists marked, freedom bought with bail money, and a civil rights attorney who moved like a blade through bureaucracy. But the worst wasn't the arrest. The worst was finding his daughter, across the street, sitting at Ms. Alvarez's kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking, eyes red, but without tears left. "She hasn't spoken since they took you," Ms. Alvarez whispered. When Nyla saw him, she stood so fast her chair scraped the tile. She walked to him silently, wrapped her arms around his waist, and didn't let go. Not for a full minute. Not even when he whispered, "It's okay. It was a mistake. We're going to fix it." Later that night, after he tucked Nyla in and left the hallway light on, because now she needed it, Malik sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad and his laptop. He typed timeline, names, badge numbers, unit numbers. Every detail he could remember. Evidence wins arguments. At 10:32 p.m., he stopped typing and stared at his phone. A number glowed on the screen. 703 area code, Washington, D.C. He took a breath and called.
The line clicked. "Major General Raymond Cole," a deep voice answered. Malik's voice stayed steady. "Sir, this is Lieutenant Colonel Malik Carter. I need to report an incident." The Cedar Ridge Police Department always smelled the same. Industrial cleaner, burnt coffee, and old air conditioning. But tonight Malik felt each scent in a different way. Not as a visitor. Not as a military man passing through on official business. As a detainee. As an accused. As someone the system believed it could handle quietly. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Not yet. Major General Raymond Cole didn't waste time on greetings. "Carter, give me your location, your status, and summary of incident. Keep emotion out of it. Data only." Malik straightened instinctively, standing in his own kitchen like he was back on a base giving a briefing. "Sir, home residence, released on bail at 1910 hours. Charge, disturbing the peace. Arrest occurred at 15:43 hours. No probable cause articulated. Handcuffed in view of minor child and multiple witnesses. Home searched later under questionable warrant." Cole's voice sharpened. "Badge numbers?" "Arresting officer, Sergeant Rick Lawson, badge 2719. Accompanying officers, Harris, 1107, Miller, 3432. Lieutenant involved in search, Mark Lawson, badge 2980. Relation?" "Unknown, sir." Cole exhaled, slow and dangerous. "Understood. This is now a reportable incident under DoD Directive 5505.7. I'm elevating immediately. Expect contact from IG within 48 hours. Carter."
Sir, you did the right thing calling. You're not alone in this. The line went dead. The quiet afterward felt heavy, almost physical. Malik put the phone down slowly. Not alone. That mattered. But what mattered more was upstairs, his daughter, asleep with her door open and a nightlight glowing in the hallway. Because suddenly the dark felt too big for her. He looked at the clock. 22:51. He had more work to do. At midnight, somewhere in Arlington, Virginia, Major General Cole sent the first encrypted message. At 0:17, it hit the inbox of the Army's Deputy Inspector General. At 0:41, it went to the DoD's Civil Liberties Division. At 1:08, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff received a 4-paragraph summary marked Priority 1. The subject line was simple. Immediate attention. Civil rights incident involving active duty lieutenant colonel. By 2 o'clock, the chairman wasn't asleep anymore. By dawn, Cedar Ridge had no idea its name was already in a Pentagon file. Meanwhile, Malik wasn't pretending to sleep. He sat at the kitchen table writing everything he could remember. Angles, distances, quotes, timestamps. He checked his phone. Miss Alvarez had already texted the video. So had Mr. Huang from 2 houses down. Their cameras captured details Malik had missed. The cruisers arriving. The exact second Lawson rested his hand on his belt. The moment Nyla stepped into the doorframe with her birthday crown slipping off. At 1:46 a.m., he watched that clip 3 times in a row. Each time, his jaw clenched harder. He finally closed the laptop. His brain was exhausted. His body wasn't. Sleep stalked him all night, but never caught him. Monday morning, 06:48 a.m. Police Chief Charles Benton was barely through half his first coffee when his desk phone rang. He frowned at the caller ID. 703 area code, Northern Virginia. A government line. He lifted the receiver. "Benton."
Chief Benton, good morning. This is Deputy Inspector General Karen Morales, Department of Defense. The chief sat up straighter. We are opening investigation 2023-DOD 4127 under Directive 5505.7 regarding the detention of Lieutenant Colonel Malik Carter on June 12th. We will require full cooperation, body cam footage, dispatch logs, booking documents, personnel files for all involved officers, and departmental policies regarding use of force and arrest. Benton blinked hard, heart thumping. Lieutenant Colonel? He repeated. Yes, Chief, Morales confirmed. Active duty, 18 years of service, high-level clearance, and now the complainant in a potential federal civil rights case. You will receive official notice within the hour. Before he could form a sentence, the line clicked off. Benton stared at his coffee.
It suddenly tasted like acid. 8:30 a.m., same morning. The Cedar Ridge Gazette newsroom. Investigative reporter Sarah Bennett clicked into her email. Subject line: You need to see this. No sender name. One attachment. She hesitated half a second, then opened it. Internal CRPD memo, dated April 2nd, from Captain Trevor Manning to all supervisors. Subject: Q2 enforcement productivity targets. Key line: Prioritize proactive enforcement in historically underaddressed neighborhoods. Arrest metrics will be monitored and reviewed monthly. Historically underaddressed. She highlighted the phrase. Journalist translation: Black and brown neighborhoods. Legal translation: Quota adjacent enforcement. Real translation: Targeted policing. She didn't know it yet, but the sender was Officer Harris, 28 years old, 3 years on the force, conscience louder than fear. By 10 a.m., Sarah filed 3 FOIA requests, all body cam footage related to June 12th incident.
Personnel records for Sergeant Rick Lawson. She hit send. At 10:15 a.m. across town, a federal courier delivered an envelope to CRPD headquarters. Chief Benton read the header. Department of Defense, Office of Inspector General. Reference: DODIG 2023-11829. Mandatory compliance required. His stomach dropped at the key line. Failure to comply may impact federal funding eligibility. CRPD's training budget, riot gear, and half their vehicles depended on that money. He rubbed his eyes. This wasn't a complaint. This was a storm. By Wednesday, June 14th, Attorney Danielle Rhodes filed her own FOIA request. Not with Cedar Ridge PD, with the Department of Defense. It was a signal. She wasn't playing on the city's battlefield. She was taking the fight federal. June 15th, 9:32 a.m., Sacramento, California. Attorney General's Civil Rights Division opened their own investigation, case CR 2023-4429, because DOD formally requested state cooperation. 2 levels now, federal and state. CRPD was no longer facing a father with a complaint. They were facing a machine. Meanwhile, in Cedar Ridge, Miss Alvarez wasn't sleeping. Mr. Huang wasn't sleeping. Neither was Malik. Nyla was barely sleeping at all. Every night since the arrest, she woke up crying. Every night, she asked the same question. Daddy, are they coming back? Her therapist used the words, acute stress response. Malik hated the phrase. To him, it sounded like, this is what the truth costs.
He read the therapist's notes again. Patient draws recurring images of uniformed figures. Patient reports fear police will return. Patient exhibits hypervigilance towards sirens, knocks, and unfamiliar vehicles. Patient associates handcuffs with wrongdoing. Patient unable to sleep without hall light on. She was 9. 9. And afraid of the knocking sound every time a package arrived. The night she locked her bedroom door for the first time in her life, Malik sat outside the room for an hour, head in his hands. Everyone was telling him he had permission to stop.
Miss Alvarez, honey, no one would blame you if you let this go. Pastor Brooks, we'll support you either way. Even Rhodes, his attorney, this fight is yours. You choose how far to take it. And that was exactly why he couldn't quit. If he quit now, the lesson he taught Nyla, document everything, would turn into receipts don't matter. Truth doesn't matter. Power wins. He refused to teach her that. He refused to let her believe justice was a myth. He refused to walk away from something that already cost her sleep, safety, and childhood. June 18th, Sunday afternoon. Malik sat at the kitchen table flipping through CRPD budget records, the ones posted online for public transparency. Page 89 made him sit up straight. Personnel Performance Incentives, Q2 bonus formula. Arrest counts, weighted by proactive enforcement quality. Quarterly incentives. He dug deeper, officer by officer. And there it was. Sergeant Rick Lawson, Q2 bonus, $8,500. Number of arrests, 36. Dismissed or reduced charges, 28. In plain English, Lawson got paid $236 per arrest, guilty or not. Malik saved the file, timestamped it, emailed it to Rhodes. Subject line, "This is it." He wasn't wrong. This was the thread that could unravel the entire uniform. But what he saw next changed everything. A news alert from Military Times, posted 8 hours earlier. Headline: DOD considering senior leadership attendance at Cedar Ridge police hearing. He clicked. Read. Read again. For the first time in a week, he smiled, not because the fight was over, but because reinforcements were coming. Real ones. From the highest chain of command. June 19th, 6:42 a.m. Miss Alvarez's video hit Twitter. A mid-tier influencer retweeted it. By noon, 890,000 views. By 6 p.m., 2.3 million. By midnight, 4.1 million. And the audio? Lawson's voice. You people don't learn. We gotta hit quota. It became the sound the entire country couldn't unhear. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag justice for Malik. Hashtag end quota policing. Hashtag Cedar Ridge truth. Cedar Ridge was now the center of a storm. And Malik Carter, the quiet man who kept his voice level, even while handcuffed, was the name on everyone's screen. The storm that started on one Texas porch was no longer local. By June 20th, it reached Sacramento, Washington, New York, Atlanta, the Pentagon.
It rippled through veterans forums, policing reform circles, civil rights groups, congressional staff inboxes, and every corner of social media where people recognized the look on Malik's face as Lawson shoved him into the back of that cruiser. And it reached the people who could do the most damage. June 20th, 11:05 a.m. March Air Reserve Base, California. Deputy Inspector General Karen Morales set up a temporary office at the base 40 miles from Cedar Ridge. She requested all Ring doorbell footage from Maple Crest Drive, interviewed the neighbors, analyzed dispatch logs, and compared Lawson's arrest patterns to other officers. Her preliminary finding, sent privately to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, contained a single devastating line. Pattern consistent with racially motivated, quota-driven enforcement and systemic failure of internal accountability. That wasn't a description of one bad officer.
That was a diagnosis of a diseased system. June 22nd. Sarah Bennett finally received the body cam footage. She watched it alone in her office with headphones on, blinds drawn, hands shaking slightly because she already knew before hitting play that the footage would not match Lawson's written report. It didn't. It matched Miss Alvarez's video. It matched the other neighbors' videos. It matched what Malik had written in the timeline he typed on his kitchen table with his daughter asleep upstairs. It matched the truth. And then came the part Lawson forgot to turn off. As Lawson walked back to his cruiser after the arrest, his partner asked quietly, "You sure about that one?" Lawson's voice, timestamp 15:39:18, was crisp, clear, irrefutable. "We need to hit quota this month. This neighborhood's been too quiet." Sarah rewound it, played it again, and again. The sound turned her stomach. She recorded it on her phone as a backup. She backed up the backup. Then she called attorney Danielle Rhodes. "I have something. You need to hear it today." At 3 p.m., in Rhodes' office, she played it. Rhodes listened once, then exhaled sharply. "Send it," she said. "Encrypted. Immediately." This wasn't just misconduct. This was the smoking gun. June 23rd, 7:15 p.m. Officer Harris walked into Rhodes' office with a thumb drive and eyes full of guilt. "I can't stay silent anymore," he said. Inside the drive were internal emails, 36 of them, showing arrest quotas, performance bonuses, pressure to increase productivity, and patterns of disproportionate stops in minority neighborhoods. He signed an affidavit, recorded a statement, agreed to testify publicly. He looked exhausted. "I joined to serve and protect," he said. "This isn't that." By June 25th, the story made national headlines. CNN, Texas officer caught discussing arrest quota before detaining lieutenant colonel. NBC, body cam audio raises questions about Cedar Ridge PD. Fox, federal investigators review Texas arrest of Air Force officer. AP, DOD confirms inquiry into local police department. International outlets picked it up next. Cedar Ridge, Texas, population 41,000, became a global symbol. Not because of the crime,
because of the cover-up, because of the receipts, and because of one father's refusal to stay quiet. June 27th, Pastor Brooks held a testimony session in the church basement. 83 people showed up. 7 families shared nearly identical stories.
Traffic stops without cause. Searches without consent. Complaints lost. Reports insufficient evidence. Investigations handled by Lawson's own brother. All forwarded to Rhodes. All forwarded to Morales at DOD. All added to the growing file against Cedar Ridge PD. This was no longer Malik versus Lawson. This was Cedar Ridge versus Proof. July 1st. At 2:14 a.m., Sarah Bennett received an encrypted file from an anonymous DOD insider. Inside was the DOD IG preliminary report. Page 4. Detention of Lieutenant Colonel Carter lacked probable cause and displays pattern aligned with racially motivated, quota-driven policing. Page 7. Recommend presence of federal observers. Recommend attendance by Joint Chiefs representatives. Signatures: Deputy Inspector General Karen Morales, Inspector General Thomas Williams. Approved by General Gregory Whitfield, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff. The chairman himself signed it. That never happens. Ever.